media landscape has shifted so much that it's become almost impossible to navigate navigate with integrity, without having some sense of what's going on behind it, without having the media literacy that gives you the capacity to make the distinction between good news and bad news. In the old days, pre-digital days, it was reasonably easy to find a good, reliable news source, and that distinguished itself from the very questionable news sources. Now, all information appears equal, but just because it has the appearance of being equal doesn't mean that it is equal, and that's why it's incumbent on the individuals themselves, on the people that consume the news, to have the literacy, to have the knowledge and understanding and the wisdom to be able to make those distinctions themselves.
I agree it's important for the consumers of news now to have that. But how important is it for journalists to do a better job in media organisations than they've done in the past?
As we've seen today in the session, journalists are human as well, and even though we come to this business with certain skills, we're not immune to the kind of problems of fake news, of distorted news. We're victims as well, and we need to understand just how hard it is. We've also got a responsibility to make sure that we stick to the highest ethical standards. One of the problems that we've got, as I was saying in our session earlier, is that the business models are forcing us into to do things that I think raise questions about our integrity. Generating headlines that produce clicks, for example. We know what produces clicks, and the instinct is, if you're trying to monetize and stay alive, if you're trying to generate an income for your organisation, the instinct is to create those sensational headlines that generate the clicks, but that's not the same as producing good news with integrity. And so fighting with these competing forces is always very, very difficult. I think over the long run we have to go for the more conservative option and stick to our principles, stick to our ethics and standards, and resist the urge to go sensationalist. But that's a very, very difficult thing to do in practice when you're sitting in the newsroom trying to work out how you're going to pay the bills.
What did your time in prison teach you about journalism?
Oh gosh, it taught me the importance of integrity. One of the things I came to understand was that, and I say this with some pride, that none of us that were in prison in Egypt had done anything in our professional records that caused our work to be questioned. If we had been dodgy in the past, if we had been biased or loose with the truth, the Egyptians would have trumpeted it from the rooftops. And if they'd have done that, I think the people that supported us would have started to doubt whether, in fact, we had been operating as honestly as we claimed. They might have thought that, and I suspected that perhaps there was something in the Egyptian allegations against us. And if people had had that doubt, if they'd felt that maybe there was something in our pasts that indicated that we were capable of messing around with the Muslim Brotherhood or supporting terrorism, then our support across the board would have collapsed and we'd still be in prison. So I'm very proud of the fact that people recognised that we always had operated with integrity, that we were worth supporting, and because of that we generated the kind of support that ultimately spun us from prison.